Hi, I'm Tom Hibbert and welcome to Winning Strength Online, and this is my 8-week log peak series. Today we're going to recap what happened in my week, including overcoming a couple of injury setbacks, and then we're going to look at speed work. So recapping my training week, Monday was a terrible start, couldn't have been worse. I was warming up for the squat and felt a pain go right into my lower back, had to stop the session immediately. Got off the gym floor, went upstairs, got on the red light, put the microphone on to kind of make myself feel better and relax. But it was at the point where I couldn't even put my shoes and socks on the next day, so I couldn't bend down. I was getting a lot of pain throughout. So comes to Wednesday, it's meant to be a speed push press day, and I was feeling better but not great. I didn't want to put a lot of weight through it, so I just kept it light and fast. I did log against bands and chains, and I even wore a belt, which I don't normally do for speed work. Normally I try and keep it completely raw. Thursday was feeling a bit better, but it was a lower body session. It was meant to be a speed session. I was meant to do squats again, but I completely stayed away from that. What I did was a little bit of plyometric work, but then I used Russian step-ups and the inverse curl to kind of get some blood through it. And I used a lot of reverse hypers, single leg reverse hypers, bilateral reverse hypers. And by the end of the session, I felt a lot better. Friday rested, and the end of the week is where I put the log session. The reason we put it at the end of the week is because we were traveling up to the competition venue. It's always good to go to the competition venue, because when you've got your head back and you're looking up, you're going to be seeing different things, which is why going outside at comps can throw a lot of people off, because they're not used to training outside and looking at the sky. So went to the competition venue, got onto their log. It was very similar to my log in the fact that it wasn't painted, so it wasn't very slippy, so I liked that, but it was a slightly bigger diameter, and the chest plate was a little bit smaller, so I'm very glad I went and had a little play around on that. I was told by people who competed the year before that when you look up it was a bit weird, but they've changed the inside of the gym, so that I'm not going to have to experience that. The goal of the session was simply to get to around 175 kilos. In an ideal world, I wanted to do 3 singles at it. If I did 3 singles at that and came away feeling snappy, I would have been extremely confident in the world record. But my forearm, hence why I've got the electro pads on and the microcurrent underneath, was playing up to the point where it's like a tendonitis feeling, where you do the exercise, you don't really think about it or feel it, but as soon as you come off and as soon as you put the implement down, the pain kind of radiates and increases for about 30 seconds and then dissipates again. So I've had to deal with the lower back injury and then the forearm injury. I don't think either are going to affect me to a great point. I'm going to be able to battle through it and be able to peak ready for this coming Sunday, where I hope to at least attempt a British record and then the world record maybe on my 2nd or 3rd attempt. To recap the log session in general, it wasn't great. I wasn't really feeling up for it. I don't know whether it was the fact that I wasn't being able to train all week. Maybe it was a negative mindset creeping in, but I wasn't really up for it. And for me to be able to hit 175 in those conditions on a new log, in new surroundings with slight twinge and concerns, it kind of leaves me very confident for me being able to at least hit 180, 185, maybe even 187, hit that world record. So the last build up I did, I only went up to 165 and I managed 177. That's a 12 kilo increase. Obviously I've hit 175 last weekend and I need another 12 kilo increase this coming weekend. So all in all, my mindset is much better. So I had a good chat with Andy Bolton during the week, and he's given me that self-belief back that I can achieve this world record regardless of the situation of my forearm and lower back. So we've already discussed the neural days that I've put into my week, which would be termed the heavy days or the max effort days for the log and for the lower body, and for me that's obviously going to be the front squat and back squat, but we haven't discussed the speed days. And it's something I put in especially when certain people and certain clientele get to a certain strength level. My theory and my opinion is the same as Louis Simmons. You can't do too many heavy days, you just simply burn out. The only person I know that can do more heavy days is the person that takes more rest. So if we look at Andy Bolton, he doesn't do speed work, but he does 3 heavy days. So he's able to recover from it. Me, I like to train 4 times a week. I get great results on that. And it's just, in essence, taking Louis Simmons of Westside Barbell, his conjugate system, and applying it to the log. The way I do speed work and dynamic work is maybe slightly different to Louis. I have a few principles and rules that I apply to people, and I wanted to touch on them to enable you to understand how best to implement it in your training. So First key is obviously have 2 neural days and 2 speed days. It's nice and easy to separate it into upper heavy, lower heavy, and then upper speed, lower speed. 3 principles, of the main principles that I would throw out when looking to do speed work. Technique must be perfect. One of the reasons speed work is great is it gives you an extra opportunity to improve your technique so you can become more efficient, which will then allow you to lift more weight. I always say, tell me the world record holder with bad technique. There are none. They've all got great technique. So whether you believe speed work or the dynamic method from Louis Simmons is great or not, exposure to doing the movement pattern again, especially if you're trying to refine it, will definitely give you strength increases. So that's the first thing I look at. Second most important principle would be the speed of the bar. So with the log and the way I lift, the speed of the bar would be slightly higher than 0.8 meters a second, which is what Louis Simmons talks about. You can kind of get away with a grind depending on if you push press with the right technique or not. But what I'm looking for is 0.8 meters a second or quicker. If you look at meter a second, you can still get great results with that. How do you gauge that? Either a coach can watch you, someone like me, I can see the speed of the bar and see if someone's lifting quick enough, or you can buy certain units that can monitor it. The next most important principle is intent. You must intend to move the bar as quickly as you can, okay? Intent is the key to high threshold motor unit recruitment. So if you're not treating each repetition as a 1 RM, you're not gonna get the most out of it. Some people do dynamic work and they walk away. Just can't fathom that. When you're doing dynamic work or speed day, you need to be lifting each repetition with as much as you can, as much force as you can, with the best technique you can. So the amount of focus and effort that goes into each repetition is going to be extremely draining by the time you've finished. You shouldn't be able to just walk away from it. It's much more challenging than that. One final thing I'll say about speed work or dynamic work is I do not see the point in completing it unless you're using accommodating resistance. Accommodating resistance traditionally being chains, banded, reverse band, full speed device, whatever. The key thing is you need something that's going to help you decelerate. So as you lift the bar up with chains, more chains lift off the floor so you can continue to work against them. Your body has a natural decelerating mechanism, so we're trying to overcome that. You cannot do it perfectly unless you're using accommodating resistance. To give you an idea of how I structure the speed work for the push press, I do things in 2-week phases. And in those 2-week phases, I like to change certain variables, obviously for specific reasons appropriate to me and my weaknesses. So in this block, what I did was in the accumulation phases, so weeks 1 and 2 and 5 and 6, I did push press against chains. In weeks 3 and 4 and then 7 and 8, I changed the variable. I used bands. And then in weeks 7 and 8, I put bands and chains. The difference between bands and chains is there's an overspeed eccentric. The band is pulling you down, whereas the chain, you're just fighting gravity. The other variable I changed within this training block for the speed work was I alternated in the accumulation phases. So again, weeks 1 and 2, 5 and 6, I used a Swiss bar, which is a neutral grip bar that sits along my chest. Whereas in the intensification phases, weeks 3 and 4 or 7 and 8, I use the log, which sits a little bit higher off the chest, and obviously that's specific for performance. Now the difference between the two is in the Swiss bar, it specifically recruits and helps you work on improving leg drive, which is obviously very important for me and the way I lift the log. So it's a great investment. I highly recommend you get one because the length of range is also greater if you want to do strict pressing. And the one that I've got, the specific distance between the handles is exactly the same as the log. So the transfer from the Swiss bar to the log and performance is great, and that's one of the main reasons that I use it. So thanks for taking the time to listen to this episode of the Log Peak series. Obviously, next time you hear from me, we'll know whether I've managed to hit a British record or even a world record. If you're looking to improve your log performance, please go and check out the Press Like Hicks new membership platform that we've got on the website. And please do subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers as one of my goals, and I would love the opportunity and the help in doing that.